What's up, guys, and welcome back to the NoShang Invitational. This is Game 2 between Hehe United and Alternate Attacks. Game 1 was won by Hehe, even though I think me, Mikelorus, as well as my co-caster MRP both kind of underestimated the power of those heroes together. I'm going to be the first one to admit, dude, I underestimated the effectiveness of the Omni Knight, because sometimes, I just gave him, very little credit. I'm going to give him a little bit more because of how difficult he made it for alternate attacks to actually initiate.
Yeah, his screen's positioning was really. He positioned himself really well, and you can tell he's been playing the hero for some time now. I feel like the OD Zeus was what I underestimated the most, and it feels like at some point the Zeus kind of took over the game. The alternate early game was good, but as soon as they assembled their team fight for Hehe, it felt like the 5-man was really lacking from ATN, and they just really didn't have the damage output with the bounty being so underleveled. The track came out far too late. The Quaswest Invoker not quite as potent, perhaps, as maybe the Exort would have been, and the PL just seemed like a complete non-factor for Exotic Deer in that first game. Maybe if they went for something like the Gyro, like we suggested, it would have been a little bit easier for him to do some work in those team fights. But PL just great focus fire, as you touched upon from Hehe, and they're able to roll with that.
There we are going to see a pretty different opening here for the alternate attack side. Last game they did suffer from lack of guaranteed initiation, and this time they have a Faceless Void, which is, well, the crowd control is pretty hard when it comes down to that Chronosphere, and with an Invoker as well. Definitely a hero that Supreme is comfortable with, to say the least. They will have a lot of they should have a lot of guaranteed damage to put into that Chrono. He do have the IO, so maybe whoever's calling that Chrono will get a little bit of assistance from outside that bubble, but it is kind of nice to see alternate attacks now recognizing their weakness in the last game and trying to compensate for it. You can make the argument that this is overcompensating for it, but Faceless Void
Sure.
Invoker is a dangerous opening, to say the least. Two heroes that are, at the very least, difficult to deal with. I'd like to see a Lion considered here. Maybe not here, but in the future for Hehe to deal with this.
Yeah, and it made this Wade Hehe from going back for the Zeus as well. Faceless Void, not the easiest target to kill off with that 6-second time walk cooldown at level 4 for the burst damage heavy Zeus. And, damage over time deals decently with the Void if you're able to spread it out and he can't time walk most of it up. But if they can lock him down and get some of the burst, like with a Lion, as you mentioned, then he's very susceptible to the burst damage. So I do like them first phasing the Lion here. It does mean that the bans are going to be a little bit easier for ATN, but being able to lock down this Void early and bring him down, make him have a poor time, is going to be one of the main goals of the early game, I feel, for Hehe. It felt like the Invoker, despite having a pretty good start last game for John, just didn't do all that much work beyond that, and maybe that was by virtue of his skill build into the Quas Wex, but it feels like, once again, if they're able to shut down this off lane, which is going to be a very pivotal member of the team fight of ATN, that should bode well for them going forward.
I mean, it is. We did see many times in the last game where we would have a tornado land, have an EMP land, and then just nothing afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that issue was Invoker in and of himself, or the fact that Invoker just didn't have anyone with him in order to capitalize on the fact that the enemies were significantly weakened. Because, you could land the EMP and Tornado, but going up against an IO and Omni Knight, the damage that you do isn't really going to stick. So not having a follow-up, not really sure who, if anyone, we can place the blame on. Now, alternate attacks are going to run back their Bounty Hunter. It is a great hero to have versus IO. We didn't really see it last game. Maybe we're going to see it this time. Caster's Bounty Hunter play in the last game, I think we could both agree we were kind of unimpressed with him. I was impressed for the first 5 minutes, but then like 7 minutes happened and he just didn't make any growth at all. So I think what alternate attacks have to do is try to free up some lane space for the Bounty Hunter. Just 1 or 2 minutes and get him an ultimate, and then he's really going to kick into gear.
Yeah, he got off his feet very well in the first 4 minutes or so, I would say. And then, as you mentioned, they just never really gave him any space to find any more. I mean, Bounty Hunter, especially skilling 0-1-1 as he did, doesn't have all that much burst potential after the first little while, when he can sit around, harass, soak experience, and be kind of a nuisance across the map. So yeah, them not giving him experience was really detrimental to their lineup. We talked about at the 10-minute mark or so, the offlaner was 2 levels ahead of the opposite offlaner. The mid laner was 1 level ahead of the opposite. Their offlane was the same level as the safe laner for Hehe's side, all in favor of ATN, but the bounty hunter was like level 4 when everyone in the game was around 7 to 8. So that was a big blunder in their strategy, and not having the track up really hurts them there. But they're going to go for the Sven as the immediate counter pick to the PL in this one. PL pretty darn good here. He can purge off the track as well as maybe doppelgang away from a Chronosphere, at least before the Void picks up something like a Blink Dagger or a Shadow Blade to be able to find reliable initiation on that PL. So I don't mind the PL pickup here. It definitely didn't work out for ATN. We'll see if Hehe can make it work out. And we do see ATN go for that Zeus ban in the second phase.
All right, so alternate, they grab a Sven, who is a great hero to have. Versus the IO super squishy, same thing as Lion, Phantom Lance, or Illusions are very easily cleared. The downside of this Sven is that now this is the third melee hero for the He side to go up against, so it is going to make Darkseer all the better in that regard. Sven also very situational with the Faceless Void. You typically don't want to have these two on the same team. If you can help it, you will always have occasionally those great Chronospheres where someone's right on the edge and Sven's able to cleave onto someone else, but that usually doesn't happen. So this is again going to be alternate attacks starting off well, but then kind of maybe counterplaying a little bit too
Yeah.
much towards Hehe. Like drafting is all about picking up good heroes against any team, but also good heroes with your own squad. Sven really good versus what he have, not as much so with his own side until Lina's actually picked up. That makes this still not the best pick for the Sven, but at least the Sven has a real home in the lanes right now because Stormhammer into LSA is quite a lot of damage and may even be enough damage to occasionally kill off a Darkseer.
Yeah, trying to understand the Darkseer pick. When I first saw it come out, I said, oh, they have a Sven on the other side. It's a pick ban, but the Tricore was already shown from ATN side, and it doesn't feel like there's much synergy aside from the Earth Spike with the Vacuum here. And that is probably one of the biggest abilities you pick the Darkseer for, at least later on into the game. Of course, you do want him to be able to lane well against a melee core like a Sven, but yeah, he's susceptible to the Stormbolt into the LSA, and the Viper is not going to make the Vacuum any better in this game. The Puck was a nice fifth phase ban. I felt like that would have worked really well for Hehe's side, but yeah, the Darkseer seems slightly out of place to me, and neither Viper or Phantom Lance are really great with the IO. So once again, it seems to be just a case of Hehe picking up Nihiz's IO just to pick up Nihiz's IO. So we'll see if they are able to get much done with it. Felt like it really worked well in that last pickup, but they'll grab up the Viper for now. He'll be trying to win his lane by his lonesome against the Invoker, and maybe they're able to get something done in the other lanes with the Tether move speed for the Lion to get him in range, and then they'll also have the Spirit Lance to follow up.
They do have quite a bit of durability with their heroes, Hehe's side, so even if the Chronosphere is going to land, at least the game plan for Hehe is that, Viper gets caught in the Chronosphere, Darkseer gets caught in the Chronosphere. Even if they die, not really a terribly huge deal because it takes a lot of time and effort for Ultim to actually bring down those heroes. I mean, the Darkseer, again, is pretty good versus what Ultimate have as far as the melee heroes are concerned, but as you said, the Vacuum, something you typically can very easily pile onto because, I mean, it sets up for freaking everything in the game, but
Right.
not in this particular game because there's only an Earth Spike here, so he kind of have a pile of heroes. Alternate have a little bit more synergy in between their heroes. Of course, a little bit of a Nombo, as I mentioned, to the Sven, as well as that Faceless Void. But with Lina to dump in the damage, as well as the Invoker, they should be able to get around that pretty reliably. I think this is another game where we both favor Alternate's draft, but
Sure.
game one happened, so who knows what's going to happen in this one.
Yeah, and if anything, the lanes are stronger for Hehe than they were in game one. But yeah, the draft doesn't seem to come together as well, perhaps for Hehe as it did in game one, even though they had weak lanes. So we'll see how it ends up panning out. Now, something to note about Sven is he does have the great cleave, but he's one of the slower carries to ramp up in terms of farm. And PL is quite the opposite, does get really strong around that 20-minute mark. So perhaps look for Hehe to really push the pace in this one when the Darkseer picks up his mech and perhaps a blink. Or maybe they just go for the mech on the Viper and the Darkseer picks up an early blink. And they look to fight with the relocate, with the Lion, maybe get him some extra gold into a blink as well. They are somewhat squishy over on the ATN side before a BKB comes out for the Sven and maybe a Ewell's for the Invoker if he opts to go that route. So I could really see Hehe pushing the pace around the 20-minute mark. We'll see how the lanes end up going for them, but with a Viper and the PL, they definitely should go well.
I haven't seen a Viper versus Invoker matchup in quite a long time,
Mhm.
just because Viper is so rare nowadays. The upside, you do assume the Viper at least would have a decent time versus an Invoker pretty much no matter what. And the great thing about Viper is that he's uh, one of the mid lane heroes who's more resistant to a bounty hunter coming in. You can get jumped a
Sure.
couple times, but usually a point or two in corrosive skin, and
Mhm.
uh, you may die from time to time, but usually you're going to die much less than some other given mid lane heroes, like an Invoker, for instance. If you're going to get jumped by a bounty hunter, things can get really bad really quick. So yeah, it is going to be maybe a little bit difficult here for the bounty to actually find any action. There is a kill lane in the Sven Lina at a bounty on top of that with a little bit of extra physical right click. Maybe they'll be able to kill off a Darkseer, but again, this guy is super bulky, has a
Yeah.
ton of armor, so that's not going to be a lane where Bounty Hunter can really put in a lot of work. You want him to go sit on the line in the IO, but then he's in a situation where he's with the Faceless Void, and they don't really work too great together at any stage in the game, so this Bounty Hunter may run into a couple of issues, I would say, and I don't quite think Alternate have enough to run an offensive lane with Sven, Lina, Bounty. It
Mhm.
sounds like it might be able to work sometimes, but it just is too risky to actually put into practice.
Yeah, I mean, against the doppelganger as well as the wisp being nearby, it doesn't feel like the right call. It feels like they risk sacrificing too much farm on their Sven. And yeah, I feel like even if they do kill off the Darkseer, that more than likely the bounty hunter won't be necessarily needed for that kill. So it does feel like the bounty has a tougher time in this one to get things done in the early game. And we saw him get some things accomplished in the early game and yet still not do very well in game one. So it's tough to say. For now, though, Own is going to go towards the safe lane on the Darkseer, so maybe looking for a little bit of a better matchup. They may even put the PL mid MVP-esque here up against the Invoker, and we've seen that matchup be very good for the PL
Hmm.
if he gets an early bottle up. So Viper, Wisp is a pretty scary dual offlane. Viper +1 in general is a fairly scary dual offlane, so they may get some information to the lanes from Kaser here, but that's an interesting decision for Hehe, and it doesn't necessarily seem to make the lane stronger, but it could help them at least pressure the Sven a lot more than they would otherwise.
We'll see how Korean he are feeling right now. A large advantage of having the Phantom Lancer in that mid lane. His armor situation is decent, especially if you get a poor man's shield, but it's really in the safety that you get from Doppelganger.
Hmm.
Cold Snap not effective versus that at all, and that to that line, Bounty Hunter is equally as ineffective versus versus the Phantom Lancer. The cooldown for Doppelganger is fairly large, so there will be times when you can make a play there nonetheless. But as you said, we've seen MVP. I think only MVP. Or there's a
Yeah.
couple of Southeast Asian teams do it. I know TNC like to dabble with their jank mid lane heroes, but yeah, for the most part, it's the Phoenix squad to really do this often, and we'll see if Hawa is able to carry that Korean torch because it's not easy. It's certainly a lane that requires a lot of finesse, especially when you expect to be going up against an Invoker and a Bounty Hunter both.
Yeah. I mean, the early lane is tough, but once you're able to get a couple levels in lands, the Invoker, even with points in cost, can really not stand the Phantom Lance harass. So they are going to have to punish him early. But it does seem like he's going to be able to pick up some CS early on. And yeah, as you mentioned, he's got the Stout and some good armor. And does skill up the Doppelganger first to know that the Bounty Hunter may be roaming in. So Hua should be just fine in this mid lane. And Bounty Hunter is going to come through. He's going to hold the Doppelganger for now, but yeah, we'll see how the matchup ends up going. Over in the safe lane is an interesting one. It seems like Darkseer Exotic Deer has rotated over on the Sven for now, and the Viper is going to be up against the Void in the top lane. And this is kind of what I mentioned, is that you do want some good damage over time versus Nisha, especially early on when the Time Walk is a little bit of a longer cooldown, so could be working out. Own, though, he's going to get caught with the LSA bot lane, but he's doing a lot of damage to this Lina, and Lina cannot outrun him at this point, so he's going to get most of her health taken away there, but is losing out a little bit in the farm for now as the lane is shoved up.
They're going to swap the IO down here. We did see IO play a
Top lane.
very hands-off role in game one and was able to get a decent amount of experience just doing the IO jungle as fast as that is. little bit of assistance towards the Darkseer should he get jumped, but for the most part, I think this IO recognizes that he's not really needed up towards the top lane. The threat of Viper with a Lion is more than enough to deal with the Faceless Void. Hell, Viper by himself would probably be able to handle this lane, no issue. But yeah, don't need extra heroes up there, so you might as well pseudo jungle or play that pseudo defensive role as that Wisp. So good recognition here from the Hehe side, and this Viper versus Faceless Void lane is again not a lane that we usually see, but Faceless Void usually does the best when he's up against slightly higher burst lanes. Having this damage over time and this chip damage means that he's going to constantly have to spend that mana to time walk out, and sometimes he's not even going to want to do that. Viper can very easily chip at someone without committing pretty much anything, even no mana, just because he has Nether Toxin. So we'll see how much Nisha is actually able to get out of this lane. He has to respect the Hex and the Spike, but other than that, I feel like he's probably going to be kept off of the gold for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm. And another thing to mention is that the line can open with the Spike and follow with the Hex, which means that the Spike damage can more often than not be backtracked by the Time Walk. So it is a really good hero to have up against the Void, and Viper is certainly going to farm well. Thus far, though, the Sven for Exotic Deer, despite being in the offlane, has had a good amount of CS, and the Wisp is not nearby to really execute any pulls. Hua has been able to maybe force him to use some regen, but not enough to stop him from farming. And Stormbolt, LSA, Sunstrike going to come through as well. Overcharge is going to be there with the Surge. Owen is going to try and juke out this triumvirate of heroes, and he will be able to do so. The Lion is going to come through as well. A couple of right clicks with the Ion Shell on the creep. The Impale going to hit onto 2. They can get 2 kills here. They will. Scream going to net 1. And the Darkseer gets the other with the Ion Shell ticking down the Bounty Hunter. So overall, great turn. Nice surge away from Owen. Keeps himself safe in the tree line. And the Wisp just right-clicking away, slowly chipping these heroes down. You mentioned him not being needed top lane, and he's able to contribute here bot lane. Meanwhile, top lane, Nisha putting a lot of damage into Vigos here, but won't have that second time walk anytime soon as it's only level 2. So pretty big cooldown on that, still 18 seconds. And I mean, Vigos maybe has to ferry out some regen to himself, but he'll be able to return to lane.
A little bit of a problem there for Alternate in the timing at which they went for that. The Sunstrike did land, but it was split between absolutely everything, so it wasn't super effective in that regard. Scream is going to dodge a spike over in mid. He'll be just fine, and we did see the benefit of having the IO not on top lane, instead having him on the bottom lane. Just that extra bit of sustain given to the Darkseer with those bottle charges and the overcharge. Maybe the movement speed after the surge was also relevant there. Not entirely sure if it was, but it was just a little bit better than what Alternate had. And because this Sven is going to go for the pretty cookie cutter build of only 1 point Stormhammer, if they don't get the kill on the Darkseer the first time, they're going to be hard pressed to get it in the future. They're going to actually
just a strong hero they're going to remove from the pool.
Try to
Death Prophet actually comes out in the second phase from
happened?
CE, and that's likely because they expected the Oracle at some point to go, but
you're skipping
there was
out.
actually no life for to ban the Oracle themselves.
Oh, fucking the stream dropped again.
Oh, rip.
Yeah, I like
Zubu.
I heard you talking, and I'm like, why are you talking over me? Okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll bet you $5 that someone messed something up.
Yeah, mess with the settings. Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. But John is starting to feel the brunt of that Spirit Lance in the mid lane, and was forced to be quassed for a bit there. So they bring the Bounty Hunter over to do a little bit of harassing towards the PL. He's holding his own PL. His right-click animation's a little bit broken right now, and I want to say maybe that's affected Hua's last hitting a bit, but still 18 CS. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but PL's damage actually lands before his lance does. The kick animation's the only one. Top lane, though, they get the chrono off with the Sunstrike and the Stormbolt. Vigos is going to go down, but yeah, the damage actually lands before the animation does, so PL is a little bit tough to last hit with right now. Towards the top rune, though, Kaser is not going to be able to get the rune off of the PL, who will be able to regen up.
All right, so someone did switch the settings again. I don't know who the hell is doing this, but they should really stop doing it.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is switch back to static, because that seems to be what whoever is doing this wants to do. So yeah, you're gonna have to radio for a little bit while I do this.
Yeah. So 3-1 is the score, 6.5 minutes in, and still looks a little bit Radiant favored in terms of the lanes, but the Dire are farming very well. Exotic Deer makes a nice rotation to the top lane, so despite having 2 deaths, is going to be able to help on that, assist on that Viper kill and rotate in. They do not have detection just yet. The Spirit does connect onto him, but they don't have a Sentry or a Dust to drop down. Screen will return to this lane, and PL now, with the Bounty Hunter gone, looking to hold his own in the mid lane. Invoker, though, farming very well. 42 CS to the 25 of the PL. And he's going to be able to hold his own. We'll pick up his level 7 soon. But the Void farming very well. Top lane, they get the Impale off onto Exotic Deer. Own is there with the Tether Slow as well. Sunstrike going to be split through 2. But Scream goes down. The God Strength will give him 2 kills onto the Exotic Deer. And now Own, he needs a Surge up. He'll have it in 1 second. He'll try and bring down the Bounty Hunter in the meantime. He gets caught with the LSA, though. Dragon Slave is there as well. Own jumping forward, has a Vacuum in a second. Will be able to bring down the BH. And now going to be fighting into the Lina. Gets LS8 up. Fiery Soul right clicks are there. Darkseer going to end up going down 2-3 kills in the top lane. Coming out for ATN side. And they get the Viper bottom lane as well. Not sure if the Chronosphere was used for that. Looks like it was. They had the Sunstrike to commit as well from the mid lane. And 4 kills across the map for ATN.
All right, so I think the stream after the delay kicks in should be fine. I'm not sure what happened there. Nias is going to get jumped down towards the bottom lane. Io is not turbo up against all these big right clickers of Void and the Bounty at this stage, and he'll very quickly take a dive there. But yeah, my sincerest apologies for everyone. I don't know who the hell is messing up with this stream. Yeah, but yeah, it should be up soon. You only missed like 4 kills, so don't be whiny and complain about it. There's nothing I could do, guys. If someone switches a lever in the back room, I don't know about it until the stream goes down.
Nobody knows what goes on in the back room, honestly. But
it might be just like an automatic Azubu thing.
Yeah.
Because why would you switch? Who's messing with my settings on the back end? Why would you do that now? Please.
Just, Azubu support, having fun. What else is there to do, right? But Invis Rune was going to be popped mid lane by HWA, but it was well envisioned of the Dire, so just using it for regen. Screen rotated in, but the Invoker more than safe. He's gone for the Midas in this one and is sitting second on the net worth chart, just below this Darkseer who had safe lane farm. So things looking really good for the Dire overall in terms of net worth. That top lane engagement where Exotic Deer actually survives and gets 2 assists. One of them being a kill, one of them being an assist, really helps out his momentum as he was doing fairly poorly in this one, but now sitting at about parity with the PL in terms of net worth, and the Viper has been shut down pretty heavily, and this is far from a comeback hero, sitting at level 5 for Vigos.
The hero can't farm worth the damn. You can occasionally...
Oh,
hey, the stream's back up. Look at that. What a luxury. You can occasionally get a handful of kills, but generally if you're behind on Viper, you're going to stay behind throughout the entire game unless somehow you end up getting like a 4 kill. It's really never going to happen, but yeah, it seems like this Viper at this point is going to have to lean on his allies, but Phantom Lancer is a hero that really does need a little bit of extra time to truly be effective. Darkseer has a lot of net worth, and he's tanky and everything, but it's not really a hero that can carry you through the entirety of the game. So the bad status of the Viper looks like it might just stay that way, especially once this track comes up. And Bounty Hunter not really leveling up significantly faster than last game, but still, with the slowdown state of the Viper, this is just fine.
Yeah, it feels like to some extent Hehe outsmarted themselves with the lanes, putting the PL mid, and instead of just having that defensive tri-lane with the Viper mid 1v1 versus the Invoker, and it looks like they're going to pay a little bit for it. The denial on the tower bottom lane, Nisha going to jump forward, has the Chronosphere available. He's going to get hexed up though. Screen does not have a finger just yet. He needs a little bit of experience for it, and it would have killed off the Void, but just barely away from level 6 is Screen. He's not going to be able to pick it up. One big right click there from the Sven will net him the kill, and before that the Darkseer was going to be brought down as well. The Void surviving, Invoker picking up the kill with the Sunstrike on the DS. They do trade the mid lane tower for it, but still feels pretty good for the Dire side. Being stalked mid lane are the Invoker and the Viper. The Bounty Hunter going to jump in. The Dragon's Life is there. The Doppelganger just barely able to get him out. Sunstrike will finish him off. No, just whiffs. Arcane Rune picked up. He won't have a Doppelganger for a while. There's a Janata, and no Janata, but the Shuriken will come through. Case they're going to get the track move speed off as well.
Little bit too close for comfort for pretty much everybody involved there, but you know what? Doesn't matter. Got kill, and that kill is going to push Bounty Hunter all the way up to level 7. A massive one for the Bounty Hunter to get, and he essentially got a solo kill there. Help from the Lina, yeah, but he was the one to get all of the benefits from that. So big kill for the Bounty Hunter is going to put him exactly where he needs to be. A little bit quicker than last game as well. And
Yeah.
speaking of last game, that Lion being just short of level 6 is what happened last game. But this time he has the Finger of Death to deal with this Invoker. They'll spike him up, drop a wall on him as well. A little bit of extra damage. Finger of Death, the vacuum back. He's still alive. Now the Ice Wall is going to drop. Invoker is free and clear because of those drums. Sunstrike will miss. Screen still will survive, it seems. But, man, you drop 2 ultimates on an Invoker. You expect to get that kill, but just not enough damage. That's what happens when Darkseer has a lot of net worth. He's bulky, hard to bring down, but damage-wise, he doesn't really do much more than the Ion Shell.
Yeah, and I mean, Ice Wall, pretty easy escape there as well for the Invoker, and they don't have the double Ion Shell taking away either. They just have the one, and Lion not really able to get into range to get his damage done with the Ion Shell on the Invoker, so looking pretty tanky with the drums build, and Invoker just fine. They're going to expend those 2 cult cooldowns. The Finger of Death is a huge cooldown at level 1 for them not to have available, and these other heroes are just not teamfight scary right now. The PL, he's finding his levels, but he has no items, and he's going to run into the Sven. He will be able to dodge the Stormbolt. They're going to come back through onto the Bounty Hunter and burst him down fairly quickly. The Laguna Blade was used on an illusion. The LSA is going to come through. They do get screened, but so far it's a 1-for-1, and they've blown quite a few cooldowns. Surge forward onto the PL. He's got 4 seconds until the Lance, and they will be able to fog him up. Nighttime, they come through with the Stormbolt. LSA will be there. Won't connect, though. Surge, once again, they're going to continue to chase forward for this. The God Strength is expiring very soon. They get the Warcry off. The LSA will connect onto the PL, but they're diving very deep for this with the Urn charge there as well. They have the Ion Shell. They're going to turn to dodge the LSA. The Stormbolt will connect, but they end up with pretty much nothing for this, and the Chronosphere not available, but the Sunstrike is there. Vacuum back onto the Void. He's going to continue to chase forward. Now his Invoker is going to join the fray with the Forge Spirits. Own is going to drop, and Hehe looking to get pretty much desperate there in that chase. They don't even have the Vigos Viper with them, who is not going to find trades elsewhere because, hey, Viper doesn't clear creeps, and he pushes towers mediocre at best. So that is almost what seems like the nail in the coffin for this Hehe lineup. Only 14 minutes into this game, but Sven survives. Their Darkseer is now even less than his laning equivalent in the Void, who had a safe lane but was contested by 2, and I mean, at this point, they just don't look like they can do anything to this dire lineup.
I asked before how Korean Hehe are feeling, and that is about as MVP as you can get, right? Just screw everything. We're just gonna chase in, not to the fountain. So yeah, not super impressed there. They should have went all the way in. Like, if you commit that far, you might as well go whole hog. But yeah, going in the wrong spots. They have yet to master the art of Dota. So they're going to get punished a little bit. And Alternate have almost complete control of this game. Speaking of, Screen's going to get jumped. Dragon Slave and LSA will kill him off. And even with the Laguna Blade used on the Illusion, which is an absolute dream scenario for the Hehe side, they just don't have enough offensive power in this group of heroes. And the only hero that can actually get some offensive power in the near future is this Phantom Lancer, but right now he has drums, which isn't bad. It's certainly a great item to have with the Ring of Aquila and these basic items of the Poor Man's Shield, Magic Wand, and Lancer as well. But he at this point needs to do like all the heavy lifting. He needs a Yasha right now and a Diffusal Blade shortly after.
Yeah, and he really doesn't have the slots for it. I mean, often when you see these Aquila drums build, it's the one that Aggressive coined, which means that he's going to go travels after this, but he will not have the team fight potential, the potency in terms of damage. But they do find the Stormbolt into the Sunstrike in the river. Io's going to be picked off before then. But yeah, I mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago. None of these heroes are scary in the team fight. You need your Viper to be well ahead for him to be any sort of presence. Shuriken's going to bounce through. Screen is almost dead from this. The Forge Spear right-clicks. Time dilation. Oh, they're going to back him off and just settle for the Darkseer for now. They'll pop the God Strength as well and look to continue pushing. Can they get the first hit or second hit bash onto HWA? They will not. He will be able to TP away. LSA won't be there in time, but Sunstrike will pick off Screen on the back lines. And now 3 heroes on the deck. They have God Strength up. They're going to go for the Roche. which is the safe play for now, instead of pushing forward towards the lane. And the respawn timers are pretty low, so it's a fair decision here. Only 17 minutes into the game coming out from ATN. But I mean, if you look at the metrics at this point, they are starting to widen the gap considerably, almost looking at a 10k net worth deficit and over 10k in the way of experience for the Radiant side.
With a bounty hunter as well. This is bounty hunter, how bounty hunter should have went in game 1, and alternate this time are perhaps getting a little bit more of a free game simply because he kind of gimped themselves by, as you said, outsmarting themselves in the lane. But
Yeah.
now 1800 gold in the bounty hunter, probably looking at mechanism into Guardian Greaves in not too long. Don't think anyone else is getting that, so yeah, it should be Caster to go ahead and grab that. And hey, look, there's a Viper. Usually here you don't want to mess with, but a Sunstrike's going to come in. Bounty hunter shuriken toss, can't even track him up, which kind of sucks for the bounty hunter, but you know what? You get a kill on the enemy Viper. You can't really feel too bad about that. More gold towards that mechanism cause, and he's going to have those Guardian Greaves shortly. That is going to be so difficult for Hehe to actually deal with, because again, the only hero that does any significant damage right now is the Darkseer. You vacuum into a wall with the Ion Shell. Pretty much all of that is negated once you pop the Guardian Greaves. Nisha is going to get spotted by a high ground observer ward, has a time walk down to the low ground, still gets hexed though. That was a little bit strange. He has a spike coming in as well, but it'll miss. Sunstrike will miss as well, so I suppose all's fair. Caster is going to run off to the south, dropping kind of low to the IO. Jump forward from Nia's short relocate, still gets the kill, because he actually has a double damage rune, didn't even notice that. They'll get the kill on the Bounty Hunter, but Faceless Void does slip away. It's at least something the Hehe side, unless they lose the Viper as well. Meteor's going to be a little bit short, but still the right-click damage on the Viper is intense. Not quite enough to get that kill. Nisha's going to jump right in. 2-man Chronosphere is there. They'll blow up the Viper, and now they're focusing onto screen. Sunstrike is going to be there to secure the kill. Wall does drop, but what is it going to do? That's about it. Now the Ice Wall's right in the middle of it. Hoa stuck in the middle. He's going to try to get away. No Doppelganger just yet. A little bit extra movement speed from Nias, but now it's going to offer just another cleave target. Exotic now going to try to man fight versus Pwn. He'll lose his Aegis, but that's a small cost to pay. Nisha still chasing forward. For this IO is going to jump down to the low ground, and instead John now going to go up to the high ground, pop a couple of Forge Spirits. Exotic Deer, he doesn't have a Blink Dagger or anything like that, so it looks like this should be the fight dissolved. But Alternate are still going to get their blood even after having lost that Bounty Hunter.
They do end up losing the Aegis, which is certainly nice, having the Lion be down early, and Nisha gonna take a little bit of punishment here, but should be just fine as well. But either way, yeah, it's a win for ATN. It's not a massive one by any stretch, but especially with the Viper going down bottom lane just beforehand, but it's still a win. They do lose the Aegis, so for the next little bit, the Radiant side doesn't have to feel immense pressure towards their structures, but we do see a little bit of the elusiveness of the PL in that fight, and he's pretty survivable with the drums build still, though. It doesn't feel like he has the firepower, as we saw there, to really help to bring anyone down. They're really going to need this Finger of Death and some good focus fire on Hehe's side to bring down any of the 3 cores on the opposite side of the battlefield.
Well, Screen does have an Invis rune with that Finger of Death ready. However, he's only level 6, so Earth Spike not even going to do its max amount of damage. This Exotic Deer has a good read on everyone, but and this Haste Rune is something, this Invis Rune is something, but still he needs backup, a lot of it. Hell, I don't even think the Darkseer backup is going to be enough to significantly kill off Exotic Deer, just because Exotic Deer is actually kind of alone. Now the Viper is going to arrive as well. They get the Hex, they have the Spike, as well as the Viper Strike. However, the Warcry does come out, and this guy's pretty bulky. Up against 4 heroes, though, I don't think he's that bulky. He's going to try to do as much damage as he can, but he will, in fact, go down, ending a killing spree for the Viper. That's the type of kill that Viper needs in order to recover. We could see it's not really going to do a ton to impact his net worth, still sitting below his friendly IO, who, by the way, is going to jump right back into a Chronosphere and immediately get picked off.
Yeah, I mean, even though that is a really nice kill for Hehe, it kind of shows the state of the game and perhaps their desperation. No one was showing in lane at the time. They may have caught a glimpse of the Lina who was in the river with this ward on the high ground, but the Void was off in the jungle in this area alongside the Bounty Hunter. The Invoker had backed off out of creep vision in the top lane, so they really weren't totally guaranteed that they could get that kill, and they don't have the greatest burst damage aside from the Finger, so they're able to net that kill, but it was a risky one to say the least, and it feels like they're not going to get all that much off the back of it. Sunstrike is going to come through. Screen going to get low with the Forge Spirits, but not brought down because the Sunstrike doesn't connect, and he will be able to back off. But now that they know the Lion is out of the fray, they are going to look to engage here. The Tornado is going to fly through. It'll connect onto 2. Jump forward, time dilation on them both will slow them down, as well as the PL. Can they get in range for any of these heroes? Stormbolt is going to come through. The vacuum is onto 4, but once again, with the Lion out of the fray, they have nothing to combo it up with. The Sunstrike's going to come through. It does not connect onto the Viper, but the Viper is not tanky at all. With the track movement speed, they'll be able to bring him down. Laguna Blade is there while trying to make it out. Will be stunned up by the Stormbolt, brought down. And now they continue to chase forward for Screen and the His. They won't be able to get them there, but
unfortunately for the Darkseer, Vacuum back immediately gets storm hammered because the Sven threw the hammer right before the Vacuum kicked in. If there was a wall there, I don't think it goes like much better for the Hehe side, but at least they have some sort of chance just getting a Vacuum wall into, I believe, 3 heroes. You never know, some things might happen, but it just wasn't their fight if they get stunned up in the middle of that combo. Now Screens awkwardly over in mid with the surprise invis Sven, gets tracked up, gets dropped in like 3 hits. Another free track kill for the Bounty Hunter, and that's going to make this tower just as free. Nisha did not have the Chronosphere in the last fight either because he did use it to drop the IO on the bottom lane. Now he has another one, and it's going to be just in time to kill off this tower. He's going to chop down the trees from the high ground. It never occurred to me that you can do that, but hey, if you get a little bit extra vision, why not? I don't really think it's going to catch anyone by surprise, but do they really need to catch anyone by surprise? As long as they land a Chronosphere onto someone, I don't really see how Alternate are going to lose a fight here.
Yeah. At the very least, they force a relocate out, and then they have the numbers advantage. So, and there's just, I mean, if they chrono up the PL and he gets relocated out, even if they're in a terrible position, there's just no damage coming out from the other 3 heroes that would be remaining other than the Finger of Death. And all of these cores are tanky enough to withstand that. The Void's got his Time Walk available. The Invoker sitting on 1800 HP. The Sven about the same, sitting on 1900 at this point. So things looking really hard for Radiant side.
And now that Guardian Greaves are up, like any damage you do will actually just be nullified. So yeah, they're gonna lose probably every single objective that they have. Like this one tier 2 tower is gonna fall. The other ones probably can very easily be dropped if Alternate feel up to it. And by that time, Roshan should be respawning. So I mean, they have the entire run of the map. You could just see it reflected in their Observer Ward coverage. The Radiant jungle is completely spotted out. If anyone makes any moves, it will be seen. Even if Hehe smokes someone, like, yeah, they get a kill, but the reinforcements are going to be there simply because there's double blink daggers on Sven and Faceless Void, 2 heroes that can jump in and make an attempted gank very, very rough for the Hehe side.
Yeah, and some people would call this safe play, at least with the advantage they have from ATN, but it's pretty patient considering all the deep, dire wards that they have. I mean, one of them just expired in the jungle, but they had pretty much the entire Radiant jungle warded up and vision there. Oh wow, the bounty's gonna expire, get the smoke, but they do find the Finger of Death on the Lina. In the meantime, they're still looking to fight though. They get the Chronosphere off onto the Viper. They're gonna look and go to try and find the Wisp in the meantime, and they will with the Storm Bolt. Should be able to bring him down. He gets an Invis rune off. It seems. No, they will be able to get him. It was just a Ghost Scepter. Can never really tell with the Wisp, but either way, it's 2 kills for the Chrono. They end up losing the Lina, but they're so far ahead on these cores that they can just continue to press forward. And they're well aware of that. They'll be patient. They'll wait for the Radiant to come out of their base as they know they have some good vision and they can look to turn fights. And they'll be able to do so. And now probably poke at high ground. I mean, they've got the Blink and God Strength still available on this Sven. Aghanims on the Invoker will allow him to do tons of work in these fights. They're not really all that concerned, it feels, about their top lane tier 2. But for now, they'll just throw the Forge Spirits up and think about Roshan, who will be spawning in about 50 seconds from now. And they'll look to maybe bring down that illusion in the pit and deal with their top lane.
Lina was holding on to a pretty long kill spree, so it's slightly better for Hehe than it otherwise would be, but still, now that the Aghanim Scepter is up on Faceless Void, he's going to drop that pretty much whenever he can, and we then saw the pretty big weakness of IO versus Faceless Void. There are times when your allies caught in the Chronosphere, you're able to yank him out of there, everyone's fine, everyone's dandy, but if you are on the wrong angle and you tether into the Chronosphere, then you don't relocate out, and then you're dead also. So you have to make sure that you're in the right spot and in relation to your ally, otherwise things will not go right for you, and this time it just did not go right for the IO. So they do have these defensive tools and everything, but again, I'm not really sure if it's that they have to worry about. It's about their offensive and power and actually killing off these heroes. They were able to take down the Lina, but man, even that's going to get a little bit more
Radiant's
difficult. She's
top
got
tower
Point
is under
Booster
attack.
and the Ogre Club now building in towards that Aghanim Scepter, so she's going to be dropping some serious hammers. Not to mention have just a lot of extra health. They've been relying on the Finger of Death mostly, and it's only level 1 still, and it'll pale in comparison
Radiant's
once
top
these
tower has
even
fallen.
supporty heroes from Alternate start building up some health. Like Faceless Void is 1800 HP. Lina's going to have something like 1300 by the end of it as well. They're going to surge forward, look for this Ven, and find absolutely nothing. That really sucks.
Yeah, she's got the Aether Lens as well on Lina, so her range is insane at this point.
Uh, Viper just Viper struck something. And that's not Aghanim. Now they're going to get Chronosphere, and Shuriken's going to bounce through with the Sunstrike there as well. They'll take down the Io and the Darkseer shortly after. Laguna Blade's going to be deployed towards the Viper. They will get the Guardian Greaves off, but that will not save anyone. It's a slaughter in favor of Alternate. They see the Phantom Lancer. I don't think they can quite catch up to him, but
Yeah.
that's a immediate 3-kill on the Alternate side, and now they're going to test Rax's.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they just tap out here from Hehe's side with 3 heroes down, none of which who have buyback. It's guaranteed one lane, if not more. And they'll pop the glyph for now. Alacrity is going to be thrown up as well onto the Sven. His God Strength does expire, so we'll be a little bit slower than they would hope. But yeah, no one is a threat from the Radiant side right now. They'll stand up on the high ground as 5, triumphantly take an easy lane of Rax 27 minutes into this one. And
Has fallen.
so nice that you get the little message of who got the last hit on the barracks now. But
I didn't catch that when I was reading the patch notes. Screen's going to get completely crushed, by the way. Invoker versus Lion. Good luck, Screen.
Ah.
Oh, John doesn't attack him? Doesn't get... Okay.
cold snap?
Mercy. What a good guy. What a good guy, that John. It's going to show Screen a little bit of mercy there, and that's going to force the GG out. I mean, the
Screen's
game
like,
was
I made
probably
it. I don't want
over.
to die again, guys. Please. And they just, yeah, fair enough. They had no chance of coming back. So fair GG call there, and well played by ATN. As you mentioned, the bounty hunter really working out much more so than it did last time. He was level 4 at 11 minutes in, and level 7 12 minutes in this game. So much different for the bounty. He even has a gem to end the game off. But yeah, it feels like the laning was just poor from ATN. If they just went with the standard Viper mid, the defensive trialer around the PL, gave their Darkseer the offlane against a melee with a Lina, I mean, maybe he dies once or twice, but he can always retreat to the jungle. The Viper definitely gets himself a mech, so the Darkseer can go for something like either a pipe or straight towards a blink. And yeah, it's odd to see them try and win with the PL mid, but it doesn't seem like they're quite QO in the mid lane.
Tried to be MVP, not quite there yet. Hopefully they keep practicing because the world needs more MVP Phoenix. We will unfortunately never know if the other lane assortment would have worked. I think it would have been better as well, but again, who knows? Guys, I'm Mikelorus. I've been joined by Mrpdota for the second game. Apologies for that mid-game drop kind of thing. It should be all fixed for now, unless someone again decides to change the settings, in which case I will personally go over there and smash some heads in. But for right now, we're going to head on to a game 3. Alternate, just one game 2, Hehe, one game 1. So we'll see who's able to take the series and knock out their opposition. We'll be right back, guys.